making a puddle of it, cleaning my brush off, and then I'm going to pretty liberally just, well, the water's still a little dirty, but it's okay. I'm gonna do a wash of this basically anywhere that could be close, very close to the light, that's reflecting the light. I'm just going to go ahead and cover with this Indian yellow. Including areas up here, and then I'm going to try to remember to leave space for the blues. That might be a little bit tricky. I'm going to put down the yellow in the bottom half, and then I'm going to go up while that's drying. I'm going to do the blues on top. This is a kind of strategy you have to you have to think about. So this might seem pretty extreme, but I think just laying down this as a wash, as an initial layer, will help infuse the whole painting in a way that we need to in order to reflect this light. And remember, I can always cover up these areas that I need to if there's a little too much yellow. All right, now I'm going to work on the sky, and my water is a little dirty. I'm going to change out the water here. I'm going to go all the way down to where the Palisades are, because there's blue back there. And I think I'm gonna go with the ultramarine blue. And I'm not gonna do like the entire surface. Just gonna do enough so that we have the sky holes.
Are you wet on wet there, or that
Yes.
dry?
Yeah, that's wet on wet. That's why it's pretty diffuse. And there actually is some yellow going on over here in the distance. So I'm actually painting in those sky holes first, some of these areas. And it's okay if I'm leaving some of them hard edged. I'll just, I'm just going to surround them with foliage anyway. I really should have gone even further around here with the yellow. Now, remember, if we had a lot more time in terms of drying time to play with, we could use some glazing technique to approximate the foliage because we could, put literally we could put some yellow on to create the green of the foliage, and I think that would work here, and we could still do it. It just we may not have time for it to fully dry before we put that layer on. But the yellow works because everything is skewing towards the yellowish side of the spectrum anyway. Um, and I'm also gonna just try to sneak in one area of yellow, Indian yellow up here. Um, it's kind of like a hint of the branch that's up there. Another one here. Overall, this is going to be a little bit more stylized than the actual picture. Um, but hopefully, I'll lay down, uh, the dirt, the path. It's interesting, the path, it's asphalt, but in this light, it almost looks like sand. Um, and
Really does.
I may just go for like, I may just try the yellow ochre actually and put it right on top of this yellow. I'm just gonna let it dry like another minute, and we can try that. I mean, essentially, once because we've put down this Indian yellow layer, um, it will ensure that everything else we put on top, it will, even if it may not be exactly the right color that we need, still get a sense of this warmth, all these surfaces here that are reflecting this golden light. Yeah, I may have put down too much yellow here it's covering up the water actually. So I'm going to try to lift a little bit of that off. It's not going to be that easy. All right, so I'm going to, just because it's fun, I'm going to start working on the figures. Um, and there's a couple areas on the body, like the person closest to us has some really bright areas of red, and I'm immediately um, gonna go for this red as like the highlight, and so I'm just gonna put those in. And this will just give me a good reference point as I fill in the rest of the figure. The rest of the figure is really dark. Um, and I'm going to start with browns to get across the darkness. It doesn't really matter what color his skin is, but I mean, there's a couple of areas where we can see his actual skin tone, but um, the yellow light actually will kind of fill in for that, or I'm going to let it fill in for that. And everything else, I'm going to start, or at least his skin and the right side of his shirt, I'm going to start with brown.
Like a burnt umber brown?
This is, yes, my burnt umber brown. You know, the paper's curled up here, so it's a little tricky. Ideally, I would have had more time to let it dry, but so I'm just getting the brown in as sort of an underlayer. I'm not gonna do brown on his shorts. I think I'm gonna actually go with, I'm gonna put a hint of blue on his backpack where it's facing the light. But otherwise it's pretty dark. So I'm not gonna use like a black or a Payne's gray. I'm gonna mix my Indian Throne blue with my burnt umber, and that gets us a really rich, dark color. Um, and I've been turning to that more and more lately. Just leave a slight line here to show the edge of the backpack. And it's okay if these colors kind of blend in with each other because they are blending in with each other in the shadows. And I'm actually just going to go all the way down, make the shadows of the shirt, and going to do his shorts. I'm going to soften the edge over here on the left because we want to show that it's in the light. I'm going to add some dark here on the red. more like that angle. While I'm at it, I'm going to use the dark color to fill in the shape of the wheel. On the shadow side, we've got, it's very dark. I'm just hinting at some of the edges of his leg down here. The edge of the wheel is there. And I could make this the right side of his helmet darker, the side that's in shadow, along with his shoulder and the right side of the arm. I'm just dropping the paint into the existing layer of burnt umber. It'll blend in and leaving some room on the left side of that arm. I'm going to blend in the dark here on the shirt. And so you see how like the under layer of yellow that we put down, if you don't paint over a certain spot, it will just imply, you know, the bright reflected part of whatever shape we're looking at.
Yeah.
So for the woman, I'm going to start filling in. We don't even have to show the entire leg, the shape of it. Her arm is actually completely dark from this, or the right side of her arm is completely dark from this angle. And I'm going to make that, try to step that down a little bit more, make it even darker by adding another layer to what I was just doing. And because it's still a little wet, it will naturally blend. It's important to just pay attention to the shape of the brush so that you know, you need to keep it moist enough that you can twirl it into a point.
Mm-hmm.
What's fun about this is that, you know, the side of the shapes here that are facing the sun, there's part that should be in that yellow light, and you just leave it alone, and by painting the negative shapes around it, it will imply that that's reflecting. So even like here, I'm hinting that the left side of the wheel is in yellow light. Same with like the left side of her butt, her behind.
Mm-hmm.
Gonna make that. I'm actually gonna use my Payne's gray on her top just to make it a little bit darker. make it more saturated. You know, and with shapes like the scene, you know, there's a lot of small shapes in the scene, and sometimes all you need is just a flick of the brush stroke to get across what it is. Um,
Hmm.
and I'm trying not to rest my hand completely on the paper, but if it were dry completely, I would have a little bit more control. Um, and the parts that are in light, I don't want to leave it completely empty. Um, so I'm just kind of adding a few marks to imply the shapes that are there. Um, her hat, I don't really know what the local color of her hat is. I'm just going to do the slightest outline of it and then make sure the right side's in shadow. Now, honestly, what I should have done, I should have put uh, yellow ochre down. But since I didn't think of that for the road, I'm going to I'm going to use I'm going to use this brush, or no, maybe I'll use this brush. It's a flat brush, but not too wide. Um, and I'm going to do this a little bit backwards. I should have put the yellow ochre down before I started painting the people, but this way I'm going to actually positively paint in um, the areas that I believe should be like yellow ochre. Um, clean this off. All right, the paper is still wet, a little bit wet, so I don't want to add too much. I don't want to introduce too much more water into it when I'm adding this layer. So I'm keeping my brush relatively not it's not dry, but you know, I'm making sure to pick up a lot of pigment as I make this little puddle. And it's not really even a puddle, it's just like it's just moist enough. Um, it's just moist enough to allow me to come back in and grab some more when I run out. So, but I need enough moisture in the brush so that it will glide smoothly across the paper. Um, but I'm going to just roughly go across. Actually, that might even work because um, the dryness, the dry brush going over the paper gives a rough effect.
Oh yeah.
And this way I'm actually leaving a little bit more of the yellow visible. And it's okay if I'm kind of smearing a little bit because there's some shadows here anyway that are coming off of the people. And I'm just trying to remember here that we've got the curb on the right side. Actually, maybe it's a little bit more like this. That's okay. So much of this is going to be gone over with dark anyway for the shadows. I'm going to grab some green. I'm going to lay down some green over here on this side. And while I'm at it, I'm going to just start putting in some foliage up here, covering up as much of the white as I can, leaving the sky holes around. And even if some of the white shows through, it may just look like wisps of cloud anyway. So this is just a way to utilize the paint that I've already like started a puddle with, and just, make sure I don't let that go to waste.
Yeah, I'm a maniac about not letting paint go to waste. It's like a weird compulsion, you know?
Yeah. I mean, you can always reactivate it, but it's more about, I guess, not really going to waste. It's more about it's wet already, and you like it, so find a place to use it.
Right. Yep.
All right. All right, I'm going to start putting in some of the dark sides of the trunk on the right side. I'm going to go again with, because the tree is organic, I'm going to, again, I want some warmth in the dark. So I'm going to start again with my brown, and then I'm going to go with my current favorite blue, which is the Indian Throne blue. Making sure there's some brown. Well, it skews a little bit more to the brown side because bark is generally brown. And I'm going to switch brushes here because if I use a flat brush, I have to like sweep upwards with this, and it's a little bit awkward. So I'm going to switch to a round brush. Get another paper towel here. All right. So I like this part because it really just starts, right? It starts to bring out the value structure, all right, of the painting. And while I'm at it, I'm going to just draw on this line here. And I'm finding some like little spots of dark where they can be useful reference points. This is the bottom of the tree. There's shadows where it's rooted into the ground. That's a little light right now, but I'm going to go back in um, and work on that. Remember, you don't need to show the entire length of whatever's going on with the branches. I'm noticing that I can use this same brownish mixed, the dark mixture up here, being careful not to cover up that yellow part of the branch that I put down before. So this will help me remember the shape, the overall shape that I'm going for. And I do want, let me just redo this puddle here. I want to make sure that the darkness on the trunks don't just appear in this stark manner. I want it to fade in. But first I'm going to go over it and make it a little bit darker on the right side, and then I'm going to do the work um, of fading in on the left side. And that's simply just going over the edge here, just overlapping with between the yellow and the dark side so that the color starts to bleed to the left. And I can use that to imply the edge of that tree. Um, there's some dark areas here that I need to show the left edge of this front tree. I think this tree actually should be a little wider here in the front. So I'm making this side darker to extend it. And remember, as it gets darker, as it goes further away from the light, it's going to get cooler. So adding a little bit more, making that mixture skew towards the blue side convinces you that it's darker. Then I'm going to hint at the third tree that we see here. And then there's a fourth tree. I want to make sure to imply the left edge of the third tree, but there's a fourth tree here that we can just barely see, and I'm using shadow on the left side to hint at it. Again, while I have this dark puddle, I'm looking at other areas up here where I can just really make it dark. Um, I'm going to make another mixture of this. The tree on the left, it's nearly it's nearly all dark, but except as we go towards the base of it, which ends here, there's browns. Uh, that's actually more of the yellow that I should put a streak of yellow there actually, but I still can do that. Not too late. I'm just gonna approximate that. Gonna make those darker in a second. Yeah, gotta. It's another skill to, use a large brush to make thinner strokes, and so I'm not doing a great job here of that right now, but so as the paint is leaving the brush, it's actually allowing me to make some lighter marks here on the left side, which I'm going to leave some gaps here and fill in with yellow in a second. So even though uh, even though there's blue in the background and I've put this yellow on, it can still translate into a yellowish because I've kept it more saturated. So it's slightly less transparent. And now I'm going to make that trunk even darker, the side that's in the shadow, by turning that more to the blue. Kind of just lifting up the brush a little bit as I go higher so I can make smaller lines, thinner lines. It's a little hard, but I goofed up there, but I can kind of fix it by pretending that those are multiple branches. And then there's a tree back there that I want to capture. It's around her waist. And there's so much foliage that I only need to hint at the branches there. And then, I'm going to put some lines in the background here to hint at additional trees. And then as we get further away, everything becomes more abstracted. Don't really know what's down there at the other end. And I'm going to start wrapping this up. Using my remaining dark puddle in areas that make sense, areas that are directly in shadow because they're on the opposite side of the light. But also using the very tip of my brush to hint at the shapes, like the front facing edge. Oh, there's another small tree there. And then one last thing. I'm going to try to get in the hint of the Palisades there. It's kind of a greenish, maybe a greenish, a little hard to say. The blue that is, it's a dark blue on the greenish end. Um, and I'm going to try my indanthrone blue and add a little bit of cool green, my perylene green to it. And see, just testing it. I think that works. So I'm gonna, the top edge of the Palisades is here. And then there's just like little things before we go that I will do to polish, like adding some of the shadow along the, like small details like shadows along the left side here that really bring out the time of day. Oh, and also obviously the shadows across the road, and I'm going to try to get those in really quickly here. Um, um, the shadows go like that, and this is fun. Using the edge of the flat brush. I'm going to try to do as much as I can before we get cut off here.
How much time you have left on there?
Um, I think about 8 minutes. Hope this has been okay to watch.
Yeah, it has. Do you want to see mine?
Oh yeah. Sorry, I can't. It's slow right now. 1 second. Oh, nice. Great work.
Thanks.
Awesome. Yeah, that's another reason why I should send the pictures to you each time.
Yeah, it really helps. Yeah, I definitely. I mean, it's such a difference between the value and the color. What I can see,
Y-
such a difference.
Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, I could definitely always do more on these, but I feel like the fundamentals, the major components, um, I addressed everything I wanted to address. Um,
Beautiful. Yeah, I
Awesome.
really like these. I get torn sometimes between painting myself and just watching you, but I can always go back and do the replay
Yeah.
and watch more carefully.
Right, right.
Or I could, I don't know. It's just always I'm never sure what's exactly the right thing to do.
Right, right.
You learn more by watching, but it's fun too.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for watching. This was a fun one. I like this one.
Yeah, definitely.
Great. Okay. Um, I think same time next week if that works for you.
Yeah, works for me.
Awesome.